Okay, what we got? We got my modern games take forever to make. Oh, baby.
We're excited to announce our next adventure.
Something to look forward to.
You're spending the time, and throughout all that time, we'd often talk about and dream up
A release date that we delay.
It has taken Bethesda the same amount of time to make Starfield as it did to make Oblivion,
Stop right there, criminal scum!
Fallout 3,
Really?
and Skyrim.
Hey.
Bro, how is that even possible? Like, I'm not a game dev in any way, shape, or form. But how long did it take them to like make Starfield? Was it like 7, 8, 9 years? I don't even think it takes them to make movies that long, dude. Yeah, there's probably a couple of outliers. But I mean, like, what?
You're finally awake.
These three games are some of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
With Skyrim often being placed in the top 10.
At number 1,
Oh, yeah.
Skyrim.
So what happened? Why does it take so long? Where's all the games?
Well, at least in the case for Starfield, they were probably taking a long ass time because they were trying to get that procedural generation planet bullshit going. Where they just what do? They use like an AI to just generate a planet, and then you go through like 10 load screens to get on the planet. And then once you're on the planet, there's like a couple things to do, and then that's the planet, and then you dip off, and then you go do it again on a different named planet, and it's the same thing, and just do that, rinse and repeat. It took them 9 years to do that.
Cyberpunk has actually been delayed again.
In 2007 alone, we got Halo 3, Mass Effect, Portal, TF2, BioShock, Super Mario Galaxy, Uncharted, The Witcher. Holy
Bro, that was a goated ass year. What a year to be a gamer in that time, man. Played so many of those games. So good. Chef's kiss.
crap. I couldn't even get that out. Not to mention all the great games in 08,
We're all
Yeah.
looking for that special someone.
09,
I'm sensing some history here.
and 2010.
We will fight for the lost.
But then we look at the past few years,
Oh,
and there's a great game or two in there, but
yeah, but for the most part, there's just not a lot coming out, man.
most aren't great. If we were to get just a couple of games like the ones in the late 2000s today, the internet would lose its mind.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Woo!
Sometimes I wonder if it's just nostalgia, me idolizing the past like so many of us do. But
Well, no. It maybe is like a piece of it that's nostalgia, but for the most part, all these game devs back in the day, they had very little to no reputation, and they had to come out with like game-breaking IPs to slap their dick on the table with. It's like, boom, this is God of War. Boom, this is Halo. Boom, this is Mario.
looking at
They
these
had
lists
to.
of releases, I think it was better. Every year in the 2000s, studios brought their A game. They
Yeah.
had new ideas. Games felt fresh and different. If I wasn't screwing around in a warthog or jumping off buildings into hay bales,
Mhm.
I was flying through portals and running around on tiny planets. Every disc was unique.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't get enough. This really was the golden age, with new worlds and experiences to explore every month. No wonder I had no money as a teenager.
Yeah.
Every minimum wage paycheck I had was spent on games, Xbox Gold, or cool horse armor in Oblivion.
Oh,
That-
Ja, why you gotta say the horse armor, man? Why you gotta say the horse armor?
Bethesda and so many others were at the top, and we didn't realize how good we had it till it was
No.
gone.
Yeah.
Sadly, things are quite different now. While there are more options than ever, they aren't coming from the big studios. Between
Yeah.
2003 and 2013, Rockstar released 26 games. But between 2013 and 2023, they released 3. One of which
Oh, really?
was a remaster collection.
Jesus.
Others may not have decreased their numbers of releases like Bethesda and Rockstar.
Bro, knee-jerk reaction, it just seems like the devs of old came out with some hot bangers, and now they're just chilling, resting on their laurels, and now they're that like 50-year-old guy, you know, but he's always talking about back on the varsity team, I was the star quarterback and I threw a bunch of dingers downfield, you know what I mean? All right, that's literally what they're doing. That's all they're doing. They're resting on their laurels. They're just chilling.
But the games these studios do release are really just the same experience with a new coat of paint. The best innovations now come from indie or AA.
Yep.
Long gone are the days that AAA studios take a risk. And it sucks. I'm a huge advocate of indie games, but the reality is these small studios will always be limited in scope. They can't build games like Starfield, at least not yet. Money is vital if you want to make...
I mean, but to be fair, it's not like Starfield wants to say like, oh, our world is so vast. Well, it's also vast and empty. All right, I'd rather play a game that is small and filled with stuff and story than something so vast and empty. All right, I'd rather be chilling in a tiny little fishbowl that's full to the top than be walking around in this like wide ass puddle.
Something enormous like this with all the bells and whistles. We need both the Starfields and the Stardews. We need the companies that shaped the golden age to make more games again and not be hot garbage. The problem is,
there's a bunch of problems. But let me just see what you got to say first.
The gaming market has grown, expanding faster than any other entertainment sector. AAA experiences have become bloated, focused more on technology, specs, and map sizes.
Mine are bigger than yours.
I mean, Fallout 4 was bigger than Fallout 3, and Fallout 76 was 4 times bigger than Fallout 4, but 76 at release was about as fun as watching paint dry. The focus of Bethesda is bigger worlds and impressive graphics to wow players into purchasing. The question of the studio became, how big can we make this game to wow the player, not how can we make this game fun for the player. We entered the age of the spectacle, where it's more important that people perceive value than receive value. And
God dang, bro, that's so dreadful to hear. You need to perceive the value than accept, or what'd you say, accept the value or actually have it? God damn it, dude. That's so, like, dreary to think about. Like,
I'm going to repeat that real quick because I really want to drive this home.
It's
more important that people perceive value than receive
it.
Value. The goal of these game studios is to excite players using trailers and buzzwords like
next generation,
powerful narratives with the cutting-edge new technology.
Bro, honestly, it just seems like thought popped up. It just seems like these guys just like ChatGPT'd some random video game delivery announcement, and they looked at like what buzzwords popped up, and they're like, okay, ChatGPT 4, because obviously they would subscribe to the 4 version instead of the 3.5 version. And then they look at the buzzwords and then just use those buzzwords. It's like, stop, please. Stop. We don't care about your powerful whatever, your 16 times the detail this, your story-driven whatever. Just stop.
As humans, we hear these things and we get excited.
Shut up and take my money.
I used to get excited as a little kid. I don't get excited anymore. Or I don't know. Maybe it takes like something different for me to get excited, but I don't know.
Money.
Ready to just throw our...
Well, your average gamer is also probably way younger still. Even though you showed that graph earlier of like more people are just playing games now than back in the day. But video games are still like a targeted hobby for the, 14 to, 30 something audience. It's not something like very many older people engage in. But I mean, I think it is changing. Like, gaming is obviously way more accepted now than it used to be back in the day. But it seems like the practices are just more shitty.
Our hard-earned cash at what looks good. We think we are logical creatures, but we aren't. So much of what we do and buy is based off of how we feel.
Yeah.
I bought an under-the-desk treadmill the other day, telling myself I'll get my fat ass moving while I work.
Oh, here we
I've
go.
used it once. I got caught up in this idea that I'll get in shape, and I somehow got sold that I could do it while I work. This is the problem all these studios have. They're so focused on what sounds good versus what is good. Which brings us to Starfield.
Humanity has
Oh boy.
always hunted for knowledge in the unknown.
The next spectacle from Bethesda. Like most Bethesda games, Starfield has the RPG mechanics we've grown to love, but on a galactic scale, with thousands of planets to explore.
Bro, if you were to just say this to me, like even now, like 1,000 planets, I'm thinking these are all 1,000 unique different planets with unique characters, unique stories, like and a bunch of gear and loot, and oh my god, 1,000 planets, maybe one giant leap for game design. It's like, bro, no, there's no shot that you can cram all of that uniqueness into 1,000 planets. It's like there's gonna be some copy paste moments where it's like, oh, I found a sniper, and then oh, I go to like 5 other planets, I found the same sniper. It was so naive of me to think that Starfield could be anything but like just some sort of copy paste game. I mean, I heard there were some like redeeming factors to it, like the shipbuilding and whatnot. But as far as like everything else, it's like it was like your standard. Well, I can't even say standard because there are a lot of other what do you call it, like Bethesda games that had great stories, but like there's no way. Like if you say 1,000 planets, I am thinking of something greater than Game of Thrones. And I know how complicated Game of Thrones is to keep up with. And that's just like within like 6 or 7, nations or whatever. All right. Now all of a sudden you want to throw in 1,000 planets on it. It's like, bro, there's no way I could keep up.
There's an endless amount of indigenous life to discover. The size of this game is absurd. Although Starfield is Bethesda's first new IP in 25 years, Todd Howard described the game as Skyrim in space, hinting at what's really happening.
Ugh.
Like Skyrim, Bethesda is trying to make another forever game with Starfield. You see, many people view Skyrim as a masterpiece, a world where players can return again and again, constantly finding new ways to play, from mods to special challenges to other things. But the game became a forever game and is considered a masterpiece, not because of the developers, but because of the community.
Well, I think one of the main attractors of Skyrim is that everything is handmade in Skyrim. Like all the dungeons, I believe, were like someone had to go in and be like, okay, you are in charge of dungeon number 34. This is going to be, you might as well just slap your name on it. Joe somebody. All right. This is Joe somebody's dungeon number 34. He's going to handcraft it, leave nothing up to procedural generation, nothing up to AI. And it's going to be unique experience delivered by him. All right. And that's, at least from what I remember, that was how it was. And because there were so many unique dungeons, even though it might not have felt like, oh, like every new dungeon you go in, it's going to be like a different experience where like, ooh, a new dungeon, is there going to be like a new unique piece of loot? Well, probably not. But the whole going through it, when experiencing different types of enemies going through it, is probably a unique experience on and of itself. I mean, as long as you didn't choose like the stealth archer class.
Skyrim was just like every other Elder Scrolls game. Fun, innovative, and riddled with bugs.
Yeah.
But what made this game so different was that Bethesda unintentionally made it a sandbox. A place for players to build whatever they could imagine in the world of Tamriel. But unlike so many mod-based sandbox games before it, Half-Life, Doom, Portal, this time you had a whole world and cast of characters to mess around with. It's why the game had such an incredible lifespan. I don't see anyone playing Oblivion 50 times, even though I think it has a better story than Skyrim.
Oh,
the
dang.
reason why people still play this game is because Bethesda accidentally created a forever game. And Todd Howard agrees.
12 years after Skyrim, we're looking at a game that has over 60 million copies, and all these people playing it, and they're still playing it. And so we have learned we need to build in from the beginning a game that has this long-term play thought of. So
I mean, if you want to, like, he can say that, like, you want to have some sort of long-term play, and that he wants to have 1,000 planets for the hardcore audience to get into, then it's not really a case of having the hardcore audience and like going the length and reaching all 1,000 planets or whatever, I'm sure there's like brand new people still to this day, like popping in Skyrim for the first time. All right, because it's not as daunting to think that, oh, there's this new game, I have to go to all these 1,000 planets. It's like, no, it's just Skyrim. You know, you just follow the story and then you do some side things once in a while. You know, it's more edible and bite size than when it's compared to Starfield.
You know, hopefully, you know, people are playing Starfield a long time from now.
They caught lightning in a bottle with Skyrim,
Yeah.
and they want to do the same with Starfield by building all the tools necessary. It's kind of like Minecraft. The game is the perfect stage to tell your story, and Bethesda wants Starfield to be something similar, to be a stage to tell your story in a futuristic space world. But that takes time to develop, lots of time. So
Yeah, it takes time and effort. And sometimes, you know, that's a gamble for as a developer. Just because you put in a lot of time and effort into a game doesn't mean the game's going to be good.
primary focus of Bethesda is no longer creating a story for people to enjoy and move on, but to create a game where you and others can create new experiences. Like Todd said in that same interview,
there are people that do want to come to a game, do the main story, and feel that, okay, I've won. I can now do something else. I think that's okay too.
That's okay too that people want to play the game and move on, as Todd says, but that's not the goal of Todd and Bethesda.
That's kind of creepy to think about. It's like he wants you, he said that that's okay, as in it's okay for you to be complete and done with the game, as in, and like that's okay. But to me, when he says it like that, it kind of is a red flag, in that he wants you to spend as much time as he can manipulate you into spending in the game, and it not be organic. Like whenever you play Skyrim and you spend a lot of time in Skyrim, at least to me, it always felt organic. There was shit happening in the environment. There's always dragons flying over your head trying to kill you. A new little dungeon popped up on the little compass. Oh, let me go see what that is. All right. It's just the game is small enough to where you can fit a bunch of shit in it. Starfield seems like it's so vast.
So Starfield isn't just Bethesda's biggest and latest game. It's their next forever game. And AAA studios, now more than ever, want to make forever games. Titles that will last a decade or even two. A game they can continue working on and supporting long after release to generate more money than...
Oh yeah, that was the other thing I was going to talk about. Like these big AAA devs, all they're doing is just coming out with live service games, because they don't feel like coming out like every 5, 6, 7 years with a new brand spanking new game. All right, they just want to chill on a 20-year game they put a lot of effort to in the beginning, and then a minuscule amount of effort every couple months or patch cycle or season or whatever. All right, more and more AAA devs are coming out with live service games, and they want to just monetize the shit out of it, really. And because they're putting so much time and effort into these live service games, there's not a lot of time elsewhere to make like a brand new game. So it is what it is. And it wouldn't be like that if gamers didn't pay so much money for microtransactions. So gamers have nobody to blame but themselves for this.
ever thought possible. The golden age of consistent lineups is over, and it pains me to say that. Whether we like it or not, these forever games are here to stay, and they take a long time to make. It's why we still don't have GTA 6, and why we are probably 5+ years away from playing the next Elder Scrolls game, even though it was announced 5 years ago. This is also why...
Bro, I don't even know if I'm still gonna like games in like fucking 5 years, like for the next Elder Scrolls installment. That's crazy, man. Like, what the fuck?
Starfield was announced so early in its development. While the team at Bethesda has been passionate about this project for a decade, it's still a new property, and it's likely they needed to test the market and players' reception, carefully gauging how people responded to the trailers and gameplay. They were testing the waters to see if players would spend 10+ years playing it like Skyrim. But perhaps we're letting scope...
A 10-year plus beta test. That sounds like purgatory to me.
And technology dictate too much. There's an important space for massive, sprawling spectacles that take many years to create, but there's also a space for AAA games that I play through once or twice and move on. I don't need large, sprawling worlds. Give me something small, but packed full of interesting people. Give me the linear games of the 2000s that took 2 years to develop and 2 days to complete. Although I'm excited to play Starfield, I can't help but feel nostalgic about a time when games were announced and released in the same year. A time when games didn't take forever to make. This week's indie game highlight is Slime Rancher. Do you want to play something that is the definition of chill? A farming sim that's focused on breeding slime, and Slime Rancher is the game for you. The art style is fun, and the music is
I could use a chill game to play.
I highly suggest this game if you're looking for a relaxing experience. And don't forget, if you have any game suggestions for our next video, check out our Discord to determine what game we should feature next.
Nice. Oh, dang it. Go back.
We're excited to announce.
It's such a good video, man. Like, yes, it's true that modern AAA game developers are taking a long time to make like the next installment of their big IP that they made like 10, 15, 20 years ago. And it's just for the exact reason that you said, man. I mean, they and I don't know what it is, because anytime I boot up the Unreal Engine YouTube, they're always coming out with like, oh my gosh, it's so much more easier to make games now. Look at all of this thing. We got the lights and they look more lighty. The shadows look more shadowy. The textures are more textury and all this shit. It's so easy to make games on Unreal 5.3, 5.4, 5.5 and so on and forever now. And it's like all of these AAA devs, I understand that they have their own like game engine system that they use, but Unreal Engine is the only one that I see that's coming out with like updates consistently, attempting to make it easier to just create games. I don't see like any other like game engine systems that are coming out with updates. I don't see the Starfield or Skyrim game engine with its own YouTube being like, oh guys, come check our shit out. We've got another update. It's easier to use now. It's like, no, dude. This shit's old and janky still, and it's hard to use, and there's a lot of bugs. So you gotta, number one, know how to do it, and then figure out how to fix it. All right, so I don't know, man. I guess it just is what it is, and we're just hoping for another banger in maybe like 6-7 years. For sure, the next one will be a banger. But yeah, I love going indie. He makes a bunch of good videos, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And I want to see more. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, peace.